Hey friends, Gabriel Kevin here. How are you today? I hope you're having a great day. I'm doing well, and this is another installment in my series of tutorials, of which there's a whole segment of tutorials that covers music, from recording to producing to mixing to mastering. Check that out if you're a songwriter or you're a musician or you're working in a studio for some ideas and concepts, and hopefully that would help you out. But today I'm going to talk about something that's not musical, so therefore I'm not holding a guitar, and I am in my living room where I wish to talk about writing a novel, literature, yes, another art. So I am a novelist, I'm a published novelist. I have a book out on Amazon. It's right here, so I'm definitely going to plug it. And it is called, I don't know if that's going to be in focus, but it's called Innocence Murdered, and there's a nice little picture of me on the back that a really good photographer friend of mine took. And again, it's on Amazon. And I always wanted to write a novel. I always wanted to tell a story. And I think that's where the basis of being a writer, in terms of a novelist writer, literature writer, and there's also poetry, which I have another tutorial on, where you just want to tell a story about something. And it can be that simple, that kind of a start. To me, it's like I have an idea, or something's bothering me, or I'm angry about something, or there's something in society that I don't like, or there is some mystical thing that I've thought of. And it just starts out with an idea that I'm kind of like, it's sticking with me, and I'm thinking about what do I do with this. And the one thing about this one was it was about greed. So the idea and the feeling I had was I'm not a big fan of greed. And I don't mean greed like, you achieve and you get the things in life you want and you're prosperous and stuff like that. I'm talking about the kind of greed that hurts other people. And I've come from the corporate world and stuff like that, and not that the corporate world's bad, but I've seen things that were not really cool that people did to move ahead and to get to the positions where they can make tons of money. And that's great, make tons of money, but don't step on people to do that. And so the concept I had, and that's just me, the concept I had was, what would be the worst, I thought of greed, and then I thought of all those experiences, and I thought, what would be the worst thing that somebody could do for greed? And it mulled over for a while, and all of a sudden, wow, I got this idea. I said, that's pretty bad. And it's part of the book, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. But I thought, well, that's pretty bad, so I got to write a story about this. And that's where it starts with me. I'm going to write a story about this. Now, I have no idea the plot, I have no idea the characters, I have no idea the scenes, or the settings, and this and that. I just said, I'm writing a story. All right, go ahead. Boom, story done. Big, published. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's just like music and writing music. It's passion. So you have to have a passion in the art world, I believe, to like want to get there and get that product and get that art out there. I say product in terms of art. So what will happen with me is I'll think of the beginning of it, and I'll think of the end of it, and where I'm going to start with some scene, some character, one character, and some scene that character's in. And I know I want to progress to some kind of ending that's going to be this thing that I figured out that, wow, that would be a shocking ending, or it could be a happy ending. But I kind of like have this, I want to write a story. Here's my beginning. Here's my person, my character, whether male or female. And here's the ending. And that's kind of where I begin. I generally figured out the title at that point, but that can always change. So the thing about writing a book, the one main thing is you have to make a decision ahead of time when you have this idea and this want to tell a story, is, are you going to say it and tell it in the first person or the third person? And what does that mean? If you don't know what it means in the third person, you as the writer are inside everybody's head that you want to get into. you don't have to be in every character's head, but you're talking from this person's point of view and what they're thinking, and then you're into this person's head and what they're thinking, and everything's is he did this and she did that and he thought that. It's he, she, stuff like that. That's third person. So you kind of get a little bit omniscient, where you kind of know everything and you're just going in and out of these people. Okay, just like in this book, you have, Frankie Oswald, you have Melanie Sanders, you have Fletcher Saxton, and I'm in each one of their heads, and they're all thinking different. They all have different personalities. So if you're going to write in the third person, you tend to have to get into each of those personalities. If you're writing the first person, which is, you're always going to see it's that I thought this and did that, I went here, it's the word I all the time. You're only in the person of the main character, and you can't get into the minds of the other characters. All you can do is observe them as the main character, which I believe is a little more difficult than third person, but that's, put in the comments what you think. But being in the first person, you can only think about what's in your head, so you're going, wow, I wonder what she's thinking. And then you watch the actions, that's kind of crazy. I wouldn't believe that would ever happen, but it's always I. So it's tough because you can't get into the other person's mind. But it's more controlling because you're just solely focused on that one person. Now, before getting into the process of how I write a novel, the one thing that is really important to me is to the next point to convey, I think, is that when I'm writing, and let's say I'm in the first person, and a new novel I'm writing, it's first person. This one is third person. And I'm literally in that person's head. I am the person. I am that person. I am that character. I am in them. I'm in the scene, and I'm actually looking out through their eyes and observing and thinking and doing, and the actions I take is I'm actually taking those actions. I'm not sitting back thinking, oh, just making it up. I'm actually living it. Now that's important. I'm living the character. If I'm in the third person, I'm living each one of those characters, and each one has to have a different emotion. Now, of course, it's just me writing it, but I have to be able to become Melanie, and I have to be able to become Josh Stein, and I have to be able to become each of the characters as they come in and out of the plot. That, to me, is the most important thing in writing, that you become the character. You live the character. You are in them. And to me, that makes it easier, actually, because I'm now in the character. I'm looking around. I'm seeing what's going on. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and whatever. And I'm interacting this way. But it's actually me doing it. It's almost like being an actor. But you're being an actor by not physically doing the acting, but you're physically in the person, the character, and you're writing about what they see and what they do. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is the plot. So how do I get from, the plot is what? The storyline, right? How do I get from here to there, or here to here, to here to there to there, okay? So that gets developed, and I'm going to talk about how I do it, but that gets developed, it gets developed as I go. Once I have the beginning and I have kind of the end, and I have the main character and some idea of a title and the purpose of this story, I just usually start writing. So there's a couple things about a plot to me is you usually have your main plot, which is usually your beginning point, your end point of the story. I'm starting here, I'm going to tell you about all this stuff and everything, these characters are going to do all these things. And I'm only thinking about the beginning of it because I like this to happen as it happens. As it grows, it expands, and it happens as it happens. And I think that's important, but I still have that ending. But then all of a sudden, multiple other plots might start happening. So, and you'll see this in movies, right? You'll see where the main character is doing this thing, and there's another character here that another thing's going on, in drama series that happens a lot. Another thing's going on that's not even related to this thing, but they're happening at the same time in the movie, or they're happening at the same time in the book, and they're subplots. Now, in this book, in Innocence Murdered, I have multiple plots going on because of multiple people trying to figure out what happened. And so there's different characters coming in each one of those subplots as the main plot's moving. You don't have to do that, but it's kind of fun once you have the main plot going to add another plot and maybe intersects and comes back in. It's kind of cool. And think of a plot as just a storyline and a character. So, how do I begin? So then I will basically figure out and think about what is the first scene of this book. Is it a bar? Is it a bedroom? Is it on a beach? Is it in an airplane? On the moon? And to me, that would be that and the main character that I've thought of, because the main character is, usually the one that's going to be the hero or heroine, if you're looking at it that way, but the main character is going to be the one that's going to carry the story through. Now, hopefully they live to the end, but sometimes you can kill them off. That's the beauty of being a writer, right? And you get away with it too. So that main character is my starting point and the first scene and the idea of the beginning of their personality and how that personality is going to go down this storyline. And what are they going to do to get to the end? Now, again, I don't know, by 1/3 down, past that to 2/3, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I have an idea. So then I'll literally write that first scene. I'll literally get on a computer. Now, I used to do this handwriting, but now I do it on a laptop in Word, Microsoft Word, and I like to see, and I actually have the indentations, so I like to see the paragraphs, because I like to see it in book format, so I can reread it, and when you get to the editing part, that's kind of important to me, to see it in the book format. So I'll write that out, and now all of a sudden, some kind of magic happens with me, that I have a story now. It is written down, and I may change that first chapter, or usually it's a chapter. I kind of write in the James Patterson, Stephen King way. James Patterson short chapters, Stephen King mystery, that kind of stuff. So, and I was compared by that by a reviewer on Amazon actually, which was kind of cool. And I never realized it till they said it, but it's usually short chapters, and then it moves pretty fast. So I'll write that down, and all of a sudden the next scene will happen, and then I'll think of another character. How is this person? Is this person married? Is this person girlfriend? Is this person, where do they work? Just kind of basic, very loose, very loose. And then it'll be like the next couple scenes, and I'll see the past start. Okay, now I'm getting my juices going. I can see the story, and it's all imagination. It's all imagination. You just let your mind run, and you just let the things flow. And sometimes, I'm not going to do that, and do this and whatever. And then, as that happens, I'm still thinking about the end over here. As that happens, and I start writing more and more, the next scenes, block of scenes, I call them blocks of scenes, are going to formulate in my mind. Okay, after all this happens, I think this should happen. And it just happens because all these little things that are happening are feeding into those next, or ideas feeding into the next thing that's going to happen. It's a flow. I'm being drawn into my own story as I'm writing it. And it's kind of cool because I'm creating a world like J.R.R. Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. He created a whole world, which is amazing. And you're always creating a world, but you're in the character. So the character is almost guiding you through this. And then I'll think of other blocks down the line, and what I'll do is I'll take the Word document and I'll create blank pages down in the document, excuse me. And as these ideas happen, I will write them, oh, this is later scene. This is going to be a later scene, because this scene here made me think of, oh, this would be cool to have this scene. And I'll write it into there. I just might write next scene later down the line, and maybe I'll even write something about it. Like, I'll actually write some prose in that some cool thought I had. And then when I finally get down to that point, there it is, and there's already some written stuff in there, and as I'm getting there, I might modify it as I go along. So I'm actually pulling in these ideas that I've logged later down the book, because the whole thing's formulating, but I can't write that thing down there while I'm still writing over here. So I'm logging it down here, I'm logging it down there. And it's not fixed, it's just putting these ideas out there. So one important thing to me is, when you start doing this process of writing, and you're storytelling, and you're in the character, remember, that's the main thing to me. I'm in the character is telling me, is leading me down the path, and meeting all these other characters. I'm living the character, write that down, living the character. I will always have either my smartphone or tablet or something, because I never know when an idea happens for the story. I could wake up and this happens a lot. I'll wake up in the middle of the night, not that I wake up in the middle of the night a lot, but I'll wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden be like, oh, that would be so cool if that happened. Or, oh yeah, what about this? I will forget it. I even said this in my songwriting. If you're a songwriter, look at my songwriting tutorial. And again, all this stuff is subjective, so it's just how I do it, and hopefully it helps you out and imparts some ideas. And I'll record whatever I'm working on, if it's somewhere somehow because I had an idea or something for a novel, and I'll write it down and I'll put it in the smartphone and I'll write it down so that I don't forget it, because I've done that a lot of times when I've forgotten it. I'm like, and I spent hours trying to remember it. I'm like, there's no way it's coming back. And so I always write down. I have these little snippets, or I'll grab a piece of paper and eating dinner. Oh, there's an idea, and it's cool, it's fun, it's creative, it's imaginative. You just don't force it. Just let the ideas flow. People talk about writer's block. I don't think I've ever had a writer's block, and hopefully I don't, because I don't. It's gonna sound weird. I don't care. I don't care to force that story out. I just want the story to happen as it happens. And that's what inspiration is. Inspiration, it means in spirit. If you keep yourself open and keep yourself honest with yourself and not force it, whatever art you're doing, you'll be able to get that spirit into you, and it'll come out of you, and it's part of you. Wow, what a motivational, artistic phrase and statement. Da, da, da. So now as I'm writing, I'm getting excited, because now I've got this story that I'm creating, and I'm in it. Every character in a novel is the author. Isn't that cool? Every character in the novel is the author. And that's what's exciting about writing a novel, is that I'm every one of them. I can have them do anything I want them to do. I can have them whatever, fight, love, make love. I love sex scenes. Sex scenes are fun. So look at my books, find the sex scenes. And I'm uninhibited, so I'll go all the way with it. So as it's building, I'm writing, and remember, all these snippets are down here. And then, and at the very end, I always have this reminder section that doesn't fit into any of these blocks that are waiting for me to arrive to as I'm going down through the novel. And these are just notes. Don't forget this. Tie this together with that. Don't forget that this guy, this and that. And then sometimes I put reminders back up into the top, so that, hey, don't forget to do this, do that, do this, do that. And it builds and builds and builds. And then finally, I get to the point where, hey, I have the novel done. And now I'm fast forwarding. And I have my chapters and all that stuff, and everything's resolved. And, I've reread it a bunch of times, I've edited it, stuff. And sometimes, like even in this book, I added a character after the fact. I added Josh Stein, don't tell anybody. I added Josh Stein after the fact. He never existed, because I wanted somebody who was the reader, that the reader could relate to. So Josh Stein comes in, he's a budding novelist, young guy, and he wants to make it in the journalistic business, and he sees everything, and that's the reader's point of view. Because you get Frankie's point of view, you get Fletcher's point of view, but Josh Stein is the reader. And I just felt that it needed that, because it gets a little complicated. Not too complicated. So what happens after you finish a novel? Perfect the novel. Dun, 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 dun. And in music, that would be mastering, after production, everything, mastering, you're perfecting the music. And perfecting the novel can be a tough process, especially the longer the novel. And it's pretty much editing. It's grammatical editing, and it's plot editing, and characterization editing. So I had 3 people, 2 professional, 1 Amazon, 1 professional, and 1 friend, edit this with me, and I'm the 4th one. And reading it, you'll find the word were, W-E-R-E, should have been W-E-R-E, or to should have been T-O-O, but you type T-O. And you find these little things, and your first pass through, you're going to find most of them. But you'd be surprised how many you miss. And the other editor looks, and they'll find, like, wow, and somebody else will read and go, that's great, but you have an error here, and I'm like, I missed that completely. In my editing, you have to perfect it. It can be tedious, because you have to keep looking at it, and you get tired yourself. You need another person. Just like they say usually in mastering in music, you should have somebody else help you with mastering or do the mastering, or at least help you with it, because they'll have a different perspective. So perfecting the novel is extremely important. Then you get your cover art. So here in this cover art, I actually bought some white roses. You can look at it on Amazon. And I bought some fake blood, and I cracked it, and I put it on a white linen, and I created this picture. I took this picture myself with the camera that is taking this video. And I used, I don't use Photoshop, but I use Corel Photo Paint, and I worked it, and I use Kindle Publishing, and that way you can do, you know, publish on demand. So when somebody buys it, then they'll create it at that time. You don't have to have an inventory. So check that out in Kindle Publishing. That's what I use, and hopefully this helps you out. And you know, put your comments in. If you're a writer or you're a budding writer, you have questions, or you have the way you do it, please put them in the comments. Let's help each other out. And other than that, have a great, awesome, beautiful day. Ask me any question you want. I'll try to answer it as fast as I can, and how I did this. Check out my novel, and have a great, beautiful, absolutely wonderful day. Take care. Bye.